Sisters chatting with each other, getting to know one another, talking about issues that we're all facing, good, bad, indifferent. Let's talk about it from one sister to another. Let's talk about it.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm good on this rainy, dreary Monday night.
Oh, wow. Boy, we have had some storms. Yes, it's been storming
This weather's
all
been
last week
crazy.
and this weekend. Crazy, right?
Either storming or the temperatures are super high.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. I'm glad it's starting to come down some because,
Thank you, Jesus.
right, we can't take all that heat.
I have enough hot flashes.
Oh, don't even talk about it. I don't even talk about it. So how are you? You doing well?
I'm doing well. I'm doing
Good. You're
well.
looking beautiful. Looking
Thank
beautiful.
you, ma'am. I'm trying to keep up with you.
Oh God. Awesome. Well, listen, I'm just excited to be here. It seems like it's such a long gap, even though we may see each other, whatever in between, but to do this, I enjoy it, and it's such a long gap. So I miss this. I'm glad
Plus,
we
when you have a holiday in between, so.
right. Yeah.
Hello to our audience and welcome. We missed you
Yes.
too.
Right. Yes.
Although we can talk all day, every day to each other. It's
Right.
nice to get some feedback.
I know that's right. Hey, Pastor Angie.
So did you hear we have a new lieutenant governor?
All right.
And
Wow.
she used to be Secretary of State in the Murphy administration. He just appointed her, I believe it was over the weekend, last Friday. So Miss Tanisha L. Way is now the new lieutenant governor.
Yes.
So we want to wish her well in her new position and keep her in prayer. I was happy to see that he put another Black woman in that position during
Right.
his administration. So
Yeah.
she claims she's going to continue in Lieutenant Sheila Governor's legacy. So we'll see what
Right.
happens. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. It's kind of like a bittersweet moment because
Yeah.
Lieutenant Sheila Governor, you see, you make me call it Sheila Governor, right? You hear that right?
I was with you though.
Sheila Oliver, she was such a woman of, I mean, she had power behind her, so we hate to see her go.
Right.
But like you said, we're grateful that there is a woman of color in the office, and prayerfully, and we will be praying for her. Like you said, she will do the right thing all the way around.
Right.
So
I never heard anything bad about Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver.
right.
So we hope she
Yeah, that's a
continues
blessing,
even in
right?
that tradition,
Yes.
not only in doing things right for the
Right.
state of New Jersey, but for our people and all of it. So we
Yeah.
want to wish her the best and pray for her as she, for as long as he'll be an administrator or the governor. So
Right.
we pray that all goes well.
Yeah. So we like you said, we're going to keep praying for her, and we're excited about our topic on tonight.
Yes.
So we're glad that those that are coming in now, thank you for joining in. We want to let you know to please go ahead, and whether you want to share the link on YouTube that we posted in the chat, or if you want to share the Facebook page, that's fine, but please do share so others can come in. We don't want them to miss this conversation because we're going to be talking about communication and assertiveness on tonight. So this is something that has come up and that we know that's needed, because a lot of times we get those two, they get it mixed up, or we don't have good communication. So we want to make sure we talk about that and keep that going. I know my sister just popped out. She's going to pop right back in. The weather has just been interesting. So we know that weather sometimes it does some crazy stuff. We are here, right? See, so she'll be right back. She'll pop right back. No worries.
Now you see me, now you don't. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to be talking about communication and assertiveness tonight. And we know how important effective communication is,
Yes.
and assertiveness. And they're both essential skills that we need to have, and that empowers us, right? It gives us the courage, even sometimes, to do what we need to do, to say what we need to say. But we need to make sure we're saying it the right way, people. We need to make sure that we are also considering others in our confidence, right? Sometimes we can be confident. I mean, we have to be cocky or be disrespectful or be mean and nasty. So this topic tonight is going to explore the different principles of communication and assertiveness. It's going to also emphasize about active listening, some things on those nonverbal skills and cues that we need to think about too. So we're going to dig right into it. So here we go. So the first thing that we talked about, Wanda, you and I, we were just in terms of conversation period, and how do we have those difficult conversations. And that's something that's funny that we've been having this talk tonight, because my husband and I have been talking to couples about having difficult conversations and how sometimes you have to take a time out. But we're taking, and even that's true in this case too. But even though we're talking more about how to communicate, right? And sometimes it could be hard, especially when it's somebody. I think it's harder when it's somebody that you love and somebody that you know, even though you will feel like it shouldn't be, because that person and love that person. You should be able to have any conversation. So I don't know.
No, but you're absolutely right when it comes to let's say matters of the heart. And because you love somebody, that makes it a matter of the heart. Sometimes it's more difficult to say because you're more, I must say that's one of the times that people are more prone to think before they speak, because they don't, it's that coin, the flip side of the coin. One side where they're extremely careful about what they say because they don't want to hurt that person. But at the same time, on the flip side, when emotions are high, they say, like we say, they say some things that you can't take back. And now you put yourself in a predicament.
To put it lightly.
Right. That was the best word I could come up with.
Right. Yeah. I can think of some words, but we won't like.
No.
You're a little jacked up right now. You don't put yourself in a bad spot. Like, really.
But it's like you said, it depends on the people having that conversation. I always use us as an example, because I remember there was a time, and I think I used this example before, where we were in church, and I think we were about to take communion or something, and I had attitude. I had a little funky attitude. And you saw that and you addressed it. And at first, I had my little feelings was hurt, and I was swole for a minute there. But then I thought about it. Now, if you weren't really a friend, you'd have just let that go and let me be in any kind of condition. But because you love me,
that's true.
You came to me and you addressed it. And that's how friends are. And that's how we need to be as people, no matter how much it might hurt the other person. You got to be assertive sometimes and say the right thing.
That's true. And when you have friends too, I think about so many sister friends out there that are going through, and sometimes you have to address that and finding ways to say it without being hurtful, because that's not your intent. And I think, like you said, if you're friends and you know each other, you kind of you could feel the heart of the person, and you always have to make sure. Well, at least I do. I always want to make sure that my motive is right in my conversation, because sometimes we feel like we got to get something off our chest, and it's not about getting something off your chest. It's about having the right conversation at the right time and saying the right thing.
Exactly.
I think about the scripture in Proverbs 13, and it talks about to answer before listening that is folly and shame. And
Right.
we're so
Be slow
quick.
to speak.
Right. And we're the opposite. We're so quick to say something and we don't listen. We don't consider the other person. We don't pray about it. We don't ask God, what should I be doing in this moment? And even for those that may say, well, I don't have that kind of relationship with God. I don't go to church. But even using our common sense and saying, hold on, put the brakes on for a second. It's not necessary to have that conversation now. Let me sleep on it. Let me think about it. Let me meditate on this. And
Right.
then come back, because you don't know what somebody's going through that day. So somebody snap at you, because we have had situations somebody just snap, even like me at work, or a neighbor who you mad at because they put their garbage on your side, street, something silly as that. And we get an attitude, and then before you know it, it turns into an argument. You're like, for what?
Right.
Like, really, what's going to happen if because their can is on your side of the divider or the driveway, whatever?
Unless it's blocking you from getting out of your driveway, what's the problem?
Right. And guess what? You can move the can.
Right.
Like, really? And I'm not saying I wasn't there at one point. I'm sure, I know I was, that I got upset or something silly. I'm thinking to myself, like, this is ridiculous. I know the point of the matter is you saying, well, they should have put the can in your driveway anyway. But guess what? What about they was in a rush? Or what if they was moving it, but they had a child and the child, something happened? You just never know. But instead of finding out or just thinking about it, just that one time, come on, move the can. Right. And just keep on going.
And on the flip side, is it really worth you getting all stressed out about?
Right.
You losing your peace about a garbage can.
Yeah.
Something simple as that.
Yeah.
Thank God for getting older and getting mature, because some things you learn that it's just time to let stuff go. It's really not that important anymore.
Right. Right.
So we have to do that. And you mentioned something about listening. And that's part of the reason when we have conversations sometimes and you assume where people are going in the conversation and you start cutting them off because you're trying to interject something. And half the time you're wrong. Just be quiet and listen. Let them get the whole thing out.
Right.
Right. We so, like you said, so quick to jump in there. And sometimes we're not even going in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got to be so careful of our conversation. I think about a person that I know. She's, when I first met her, listen, I'm telling you what she told me. She said she was a Christian. She loved the Lord. And, she was all about God, everything. And then as soon as she got upset or as soon as somebody said something she didn't like, or she could just walk in the room and just throw F-bombs. I'm like, wait, wait. I'm out. I'm just saying, Ephesians talks about do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, right? But only what is helpful.
That's right.
Building others up according to their needs. Now, you're not building nobody up with that. You come here tearing all kinds of stuff down.
Hello. Including your own witness and your own character. Or maybe I should have said mainly.
Right.
But we're living in that time. There's so many signs of that. We're living in the last days. I was having this conversation with a few people that I have never seen so many cussing saints. Now, and it depends on their denomination, because some denominations think, it's okay.
Right.
And then there's some that are extremely strict about that, but yet and still, from the pulpit to the door, I'm hearing folks, like it's common vernacular, and I'm like, time out here.
Time out.
Did I miss the memo?
You didn't miss the memo. You didn't miss
what is going on? You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, people don't take, I remember when we were younger, our parents, especially my parents and my grandmother, were very strict about how we spoke. That our English was proper, that you pronounced your words, that you enunciated them, that everything wasn't about slang. Of course, nowadays the boss is speaking slang. So you just like, okay, where are we? So
right. That's so true. And even with our communication, it comes in so many forms. and even with our body language
Yeah.
and how we address people with that. Sometimes I think we forget about that. And I chuckle sometimes because I think about like you and my husband. I think about, your facial expressions tell it all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Right. And it's like you almost know already something get ready to jump off, or y'all done saw something or whatever. And it's like, ooh. And that's the same with our communication with people. If you come in the room and you can have a sensitive conversation, that's going to be tense, and you already like this. You already got your arms folded. You come in the room with your attitude. Your attitude precedes you before they even see you. They see all attitude. Like, so we have to consider that also, our body language and what we putting off, especially sister to sister, because I think we had a conversation about this in one of our first episodes about what they say about black and brown sisters. That we fight each other, that we don't all that stuff. We angry all the time. No, let's tear down that wall. Let's tear down that myth. Let's get rid of it, because it's not true. It's really
let's not perpetuate the myth, because some of that we can't do anything about. It's just people's perception of like they think all black women are angry because we're serious a lot of time, and they don't understand where that comes from, because if we laugh too much, then we're silly women. If we do certain things too much, so we stick to we err on the side of caution where we are serious most of the time. But because we're serious, people think we're angry. No, just because I'm not smiling all the time doesn't mean that I'm angry.
Right.
Or because my tone is serious doesn't mean that I'm angry. It just means I'm serious.
Exactly.
And it's that's one thing about we're talking about assertiveness in communication, because oftentimes I've been told, because I can be assertive when I speak, that I'm aggressive. No, I'm not aggressive. I'm just very serious, and I'm direct. So people have a tendency to assume something about us that's not necessarily true without getting to know us. And that's part of that communication. Get to know me before you decide what I'm like. Right. You got to communicate that with people, and people have to communicate with you. The whole cycle. We just got to be open to communicate with one another and learn who people are.
Yeah. I'm looking for a scripture that reminds me of you. So in this part of Proverbs 31.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. And it's so the NIV, I'm gonna tell you what the NIV version says. So the NIV version talks about speaking up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Right. And I think a lot of times, because somebody, like you said, is assertive in that area, because that reminds me of you, because you will speak up for others, you'll take up for others.
Yeah.
That have been judged unfairly, right? So it's like people sometimes take that a different way because you do that, and you're not like quiet about it, right? Let's face it, Wanda, you are loud.
I am.
Right. And you make your presence known, and that's good. But some people can't take that. And I have found out, like you said, because people don't get to know you first. Like, why do we prejudge people?
Yeah.
Before we even get to know them, have a conversation with them. Yeah, I like what Carolyn said, microaggression. That's the truth. And some people are like that,
Absolutely.
They fit and they take that. Oh gosh, this is opening up so many things right now, because
I know.
I think about, and we had this conversation earlier about this woman who was a part of an organization, straight out bully. I'm just saying, that's what she, and it wasn't that she was being assertive. She was straight out aggressive, bullyish, or she was a bully, I should say, and she also was racist. Point blank, period. Wow. And it wasn't like she tried to hide it. I don't think she realized, it. She didn't try to hide it, but she realized, because she didn't know. She just thought it was just she was being assertive. That wasn't assertive when you go and tell somebody what what they don't have, what they can't do, because that's your feelings.
Yeah. Well, it's I do speak up for a lot of people, and like you said, that is seen a lot of times as me just being loud and boisterous. And
Right.
sometimes we have a bad habit. We as people, period, have a bad habit of taking others people's opinions of
Yeah.
someone and applying it as well. Like if
Yeah.
I came to you and somebody I knew came in the room and I'm like, girl, don't mess with her, she crazy. And
Right.
then that's how you treat her from now on in, where
Yeah.
she might just be that way to me, and maybe it's something between me and her. So we've got to learn to start judging people for ourselves and stop allowing other people's opinions of them,
Right. Oh my
you know,
gosh, that's so true. That's
determine how
so
we feel
true.
about them.
Right. Right. I know I used to always tell people when I was, going to the 9 to 5, I would tell them, listen, this is me, because I would have to train certain people, and my training, I would make it part of my training is if anybody ever say I said something and I didn't say it to you, they say I said this about you, and I say, do me a favor, could you bring them over to me with you so we can get that straight? I said, because believe you me, if I said something and it was for you, you would know. So
That's
let's
right.
just right. And then also you make your own opinion about other people, I would tell them. Don't allow people to tell you, oh, that person over there, that's gossip.
Right, right.
That's the wrong communication.
And
So
just
we have
because
to
you had a
right.
bad dealing with them doesn't mean that I will.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it made me go back to old days, like when we were in junior high and high school. How our friends were determined. If I was friends with somebody, then you had to be friends with them, or if I wasn't
Right.
friends with somebody, they couldn't be friends with them either.
Right.
And that stuff is so
Right.
silly and ridiculous.
Right.
But you'd be surprised how many people have carried that into adulthood.
Yeah. That's so true.
That's not your friend. I don't like her. Why are you talking to her? Because I don't have a
Right.
problem with her. Just
Exactly.
because
Like
you got an issue
what
doesn't
is
mean I got to have an issue.
isn't that
It's
interesting?
just we really have to thank God for maturity,
Right.
because
Right.
some of the
Yeah.
things we used to do.
Yeah.
And that's just a sign of immature Christian or immature
Mhm.
person that is still carrying those childhood type of things into
Right.
their adulthood, when you could have missed out on a good friendship
Exactly.
because somebody else
Yeah.
doesn't like them.
And when I think of assertiveness, and even if you look at the definition, it talks about being able to stand up for yourself or others in a
Mm-hmm.
calm and positive way without being aggressive or passively accepting wrong. Because a lot
Right.
of times people feel like assertiveness means that you have to be loud, means you have to scream and get in people's faces. Now that's aggression.
Mm-hmm.
But to be assertive, you stand up for your rights. You stand up for what you believe in. Assertive individuals are able to get their point across without upsetting others. And that's what we were talking about earlier too, is what's your motive?
Right.
Like,
Right.
when you're speaking up for yourself, what is your
Mm-hmm.
motive? What are you trying to do? Are you really speaking up for yourself? Are you just trying to make sure you're heard, or what are you or trying to hurt somebody? What's your point?
Right. Right. Well, it's like Kim saying that we all have different personalities. Some are soft
Right.
tone and some are loud. And for me, like you said, I know I'm loud. I know that when
Mhm.
I speak
Yeah.
with an authority.
Right.
Um, so when it comes to some people, I know I have to tone that down so
Yeah.
that they can receive what I have to say.
Wow.
So
That's good.
but that's something I know.
Yeah.
That I can't always be Wanda. Sometimes I got to tell Wanda, okay, pull it back for a minute, tone
Yeah.
it
Right.
down, soften it up, so that people
Yeah.
can receive what I have to say. But at the
But you
same
know what? I
time,
think you still being yourself. I
oh,
think
absolutely.
you just realize that everybody can't take that. And
Right.
it's just
Oh,
like you walk
absolutely.
into the White House, right? You gotta know where you are.
Hello.
Right. You gotta know the atmosphere, the space that you in. You're not gonna go
Exactly.
right, right.
Right.
So
It's like you said, what's the word? Confrontation is not a bad word. It's not a
yeah.
bad thing. Every confrontation doesn't have to turn into,
Code switching. You
some
right.
kind of
That is it.
altercation, right?
Carolyn just said that's exactly what it's called. Calendar
Right.
code switching. Yes.
Code switching. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that.
Should bring back
But
my school days. Thank you.
speaking of code switching, that's another thing that prejudging thing where I remember I remember
Yeah.
one year I decided to run for the school board when I lived in Pemberton, and you had to go for an interview, and the guy, after I got done, he made the mistake. It was a white guy. He made the mistake of saying, "Wow, you speak very well." So I said, "Excuse me." Right. I was calm at first. He said, "You're so articulate for," and he started stumbling.
Are you surprised?
Excuse you?
Right.
Right. Okay. So now the attitude is coming out because you've already become racist towards me.
Right.
And you assume that because I was a Black person or African American person and a female, I didn't know how to articulate my words. Well, first of all, you assumed
Right.
that I was from Pemberton, which I was not,
Yeah.
and that my education wouldn't allow me to be articulate. So, people have to be careful with that prejudging thing.
That's true.
They really do, because they don't know what they're going to set off in the person they prejudging.
Right.
Bridget said
true.
it too. Got to know your audience. You
That's
really have
right.
to know your audience.
Yeah. We having some good comments tonight. Thank you, ladies. This is really good. I'm loving it. Oh my gosh. This community, we have to do better with our communication, even in the church. Because got to talk about that for a minute, because
I was going to say, especially in the church.
Right. There's so much miscommunication, and sometimes I sit back and I try to figure that out, because it's not just within your own local church, but it could be across churches, especially like if you're fellowship. And let me say, okay, so I did a lot of administrative work in ministries, and just having conversations with different churches and different admins and things like that. Yes, Kim, you are loud as well, and we love it. We love it. You are.
You in good company, sis.
You are. I love it. I was saying that not too long ago. I was saying you were doing something on Facebook Live, I think, or either I did or something. You were Alvin. I was like, oh, I just love Kim. She is herself. And so just in terms of stop to talk about Kim. I lost my train of thought. See? Help me, Wanda. She probably said, what?
Look, now I'm not
right,
the one.
Goes like just saying, come back. Listen, I know I got a year older, but wait.
Well, Angie just said, and something we've been saying too, a lot of communication is not audible. It's in our tone. It's in the look in our eyes. It's in the position of our bodies. It's, how we come, how we enter the room. You were talking about how you were, thank you, Angie. You were talking about how you've been administrator in a lot of churches.
While you were talking, it came back to me. Yeah. So it's like, just communicating with different admins. Everybody communicates differently. And that's the points that everybody have been making is so true. Like the body language when you meet them in person, right? Or when you find out what's going on behind that letter that they wrote or that email they sent.
Right.
Sometimes the whole prejudging. Sometimes we prejudge people even in the church before we meet them because of our encounter, our nonverbal encounter. So it's like we have to be able to, again, like we were saying earlier, pray first before we jump out there and feel and prejudge that person, or before we open up our mouth and say something like, oh, well, that person. No, don't do that. We have to make sure that that we know that everybody's different. People communicate differently. But the most important, I feel, is to make sure that I do the right thing.
Right. Exactly.
Even the other person don't, make sure I do the right thing.
Exactly.
And inside the church, making sure in our local houses, making sure that we, just like in a marriage, just make sure that the person heard you correctly. Sometimes, like my husband, sometimes we gotta say, okay, what you just say there, let me tell you what I heard, that kind of thing.
Right.
Because you'll walk away. Like I did that a lot, even in administration in the church. I would say to my pastor, I'll say, okay, this is what I got from that. Is this what you want me to do? Or is it, because it can get lost.
Exactly.
I remember working for the hospital and with the VP, and he was, yeah. Anyway, so we had to have several conversations, and I would try to have a wonderful man, love him, best best boss I ever had, be honest. And I had to really um, work in that area for communication, because just what somebody is great at what they do, that don't mean they're good at communication.
That's right.
So we make
That
that
is
assumption.
absolutely right.
We make that assumption, and it's not necessary too. So sometimes you have to sit down, have those conversations, say, listen, what's important? If they asking you to do stuff and you know you already have a plate of things in front of you, and they've communicated to you, I want this, this, and this. Sometimes you got to pause and say, okay, ABC. What's ABC? What needs to be done
Exactly.
first?
What's the most
Second, third.
what's priority here?
Right.
You really do. But that's, that's a part of time management as well. You got to manage what's on your plate. That's why some of our plates turn into platters, because we just keep adding stuff to it
Right.
before we
Right.
can get anything off of.
Right. Right.
You know,
From plate to platter. Love it.
Deirdre put in here that she's been told to fix her face.
Oh my God.
And it's usually me telling her that, because she's like me and Hector. Our facial someone brought me a t-shirt for a gift that says my face will say it before my mouth will say anything.
Yeah. That's true.
And
like Bridget was saying too, the text can be so unclear. That's so true. That's so true, Bridget.
And like, speaking of text and even emails, a lot of people don't understand that there's a way to text. Like when you texting in all capitals, people don't realize that you're yelling.
Right. And see, for me sometimes,
why are you yelling at me?
Right. And for me sometimes it's just excitement, because I know every now and then I'll do that, but I'll catch myself and take it out. But sometimes I just go, okay, I'm like, whatever, I'm excited. Y'all got to get this.
Right. Or sometimes, like me, I got fat fingers, so I'll hit the wrong key and everything, Then you got to
say that too. I was like, my fat fingers, yeah.
Right. So, we do have to realize that even in written communication, a tone can come across that may not be the tone you intended.
Right.
That's the tone that comes across. So we have to, sometimes we got to do that double look. Cross your T's, dot your I's,
Right.
Make sure you're not being offensive even in that. Right. So speaking of these conversations, there's a saying that we often hear, or we've been hearing all our lives, and that's that talk is cheap. And, when you think about that saying, and I know what they mean, that actions speak louder than words.
Right.
But I think we as a people have to realize that the words we speak carry so much weight. The Bible tells us that life and death, in the power of our tongue, is life and death.
Yeah.
So when you speak certain things, I don't care if you don't do anything, when you speak certain things, and again, how are you saying it?
Yes.
Are you saying it maliciously? Are you saying it with intent to hurt someone's feelings? Those things carry weight.
Yeah.
So, how cheap is talk? Really?
Not cheap at all. It can cost you. Yeah, what you say can cost you. Cost you a friend. Cost you relationships.
And in this day and age, we really have to be careful, because our young people, even though they might be a lot more intelligent at a lot earlier age because of technology, they are not built to endure the things that we've endured at an early age. I mean, anytime you can be bullied cyberly, that shows a difference in their characters as well. Absolutely, Candy. Words have power. There's something about this time that we're living in that you can say things that will cause people to commit suicide.
That's
So
true.
we really have to season our words when we
Right.
speak, especially to our young people,
Yeah.
because they're not built like we were. You know, we could go. Remember when we went to school and they would have a fight after school?
Fair fight.
Everybody gathered around. There was a circle.
Right.
Your girls was over there. Their girls was over there.
Right,
So
right.
nobody jumped in it. But you would have an actual physical fist fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after the fight was done, it was done.
It was
The
done.
whole thing was done. And matter of fact,
Right.
some of them people that fought were now best of friends.
Right.
Right. But today it doesn't work like that. They're either pulling out guns and knives, they're killing each other.
Right.
There's just a
Yeah.
difference in the mentality, right? So we really have to be cautious and wise in the words that we use for people.
It's true.
Because words do have power, you know.
Yeah.
Talk is not cheap.
They used to say, sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words never. Oh, yes, words do. That's a lie.
That's the one I was thinking. Hello. Some of us are still carrying words that were spoken to us as children.
Right.
They're still affecting us.
Yeah.
So, you know, we really got to be careful with this communication thing and how assertive we are. And to not assume that somebody's assertiveness is being aggressive.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And it's important to be assertive, you know, especially as women in this day and age, because you want to say how you feel. You don't want, you know, your feelings to just be looked over or disrespected or anything like that. And you can disagree respectfully. You don't have to be nasty about anything like that. And being assertive also means that you have value, you have worth. So you can share your ideas and your opinions and your suggestions and your talents and your gifts and all those things, and then say what you mean without feeling guilty about it. Because a lot of times we will beat ourselves up about saying truth. And somebody needs to hear that truth. And it's not always spiritual. It's just truth. It's just wisdom, you know? But we have to first be examples, because that's pretty much what wisdom is. When we apply the knowledge that we have, what we have been taught, right, and be able to share that with somebody else, being that living epistle. So we have to do that, ladies, and not just for us, but for those that come after us, and for those that are watching us, because we all are being watched by somebody. No matter what we're doing, the good, bad, and the ugly, we're being watched.
And you may not even know who's watching you, but they're watching. They are watching.
That's true. Wow. Well, we've enjoyed this conversation on tonight.
As always.
Great, as always. So we definitely want you to continue this conversation on communication and assertiveness. We love being here with you, ladies, and men that are with us too. We do have men that join on and listen and tune in. We want you, if you haven't done so already, we want you to go on our YouTube page, Sister Friend, Let's Talk About It, and smash that subscribe button. We want you to subscribe, and then not only do that, but share. Wanda and I have a goal that we're trying to reach, and not so much for us, but it's so other women and other men who watch can be encouraged, because that's what this is all about. Not only just to encourage you too, but also give us information that we need to know, because we want to be able for women to go on and ask different questions. Even like Wanda always encourage us, when this is over, keep the conversation going. And so we want you to be able to ask some questions in the comment area, and then somebody jump in. We don't have to be the ones to answer. You can answer.
Right. And yeah, just because this episode is over, we're not on live at the moment, doesn't mean the conversation has to stop. We still check the comments. You can check the comments. You can talk to each other. That's one of the things we're also trying to encourage, that sisterhood between other people, not just between us and you, but between you all, so that we can have these conversations, that we can, come together as women and help one another.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Sister Girl, can we talk about it?
Sister Friend, let's talk about it.
Good night, everyone.
One another, talking about issues that we're all facing, good, bad, indifferent. Let's talk about it from one sister to another. Let's talk about it.